Okay.
And we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to be here with you guys here tonight, as we always are on Thursday nights, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Tonight, I have with me the members, the ladies of the Millionaires Ladies Mob. We have Saran Baker, Aaliyah Sherrod, Shalonda Kaiser Michelle, and me, Carmen K. Bernard. Our main mission is to educate, elevate, and empower our community on all matters money, make ensuring that they understand how money works and how to make money work for them. To that end, we believe that is um, financial literacy and understanding how money works and how to make money work for you is the key to narrowing the wealth gap. Um, with that being said, we help Alexa's bumping in. With that being said, we help people to protect their income, eliminate debt in 9 years or less, create a tax free retirement income stream, and leave a legacy of generational wealth. Because we believe that health is wealth, we also help people with health insurance through the marketplace, through private insurers, and with Medicare. By the way, we are in open enrollment for Medicare. And so if you or someone you know needs help, please have them to contact us. We want you to follow us on all social media platforms. That is Instagram, that is Facebook, that is YouTube, that is TikTok. We want you to like and share our videos. Please comment on our videos. Let us know if something we've said has helped you. Let us know if we are, just wasting our time here every Thursday night. Just tell us. We want you to tell us. We accept all sorts of, I don't want to say the word criticism, but we will take the good and the bad. All right. But tonight we've got a great show for you. How to stop being a slave to money. The fact is, money can enslave you if you do not understand it. But here's the good news: money can has the power to free you and help and give you options and choices. All right. And so that's what we will be talking about tonight. So first up, I'm gonna ask Miss Aaliyah Sherrod to talk a little bit about um, your relationship with money. Not your quote unquote. Maybe you can infuse some of yours, but just people's relationship with money. Because I don't think that when we think about money, we don't think about it, right? We use money, but we really don't think about it and understand the relationship that we have with money. Miss Sherrod?
Well, thank you so much. So, when I was asked to do this part, I thought about it. Relationship with money. What does that mean? Do we all understand where we get our values from, especially regarding money? Because the way we are raised and nurtured in our family can be a big factor on what we think about and how we value money. And that money, is it super important in your life? Do you put making money over everything, or making enough money to take care of your family, but also use that money to develop good habits and then to do the things you want to do? Or are you very frugal? There was an article about a person who had gathered all this money. They were wealthy, and they put the money under a mattress in their home because they wanted to hoard it. And that's where they passed away. That money didn't benefit anybody. They lived like a pauper. It didn't benefit anybody. So what kind of relationship did they have with money? Were that when they were younger, did they not, get a chance to eat? Did they not have enough money? What happened to them? And that's what I think about when I think about our relationship with money. When we are raised, do we think that it's the most important thing in our lives? And that and money cannot be the most important things in our lives. So we have to develop a healthy relationship. Now, sometimes sometimes money just comes to them and they have lots of money, and they don't care about money. It just comes to them. And so those are some of the things we have to think about. What kind of financial relationship do we have? And did it start early? Is it bad? Is it good? And you can only answer it for yourself. Okay? Because right now with inflation, money has become very important. And I mean very important because you want to be secure. You can't what you bought, let's say even 2 years ago, is now double or triple the price. So it's important to have money. And so some of the things that we think about our relationship with money is it is deep rooted, especially from our childhood, and then it carries on to adulthood. Are we a saver? Are we a spender? There's lots of things about what we need to think about. Your thoughts, anyone?
You actually, I just want to piggyback a little bit on that. You did a great job explaining why we need to think about our relationship with money, right? Many of us grew up thinking that money was bad, or having money was bad, or wanting money is bad. Many of us misquote that verse about money being the root of all things rather than just the love of money. Right. And I still don't see how the love of money, unless it erodes everything else, can be the root of evil. So understanding where our values, where these things come from is important, right? And some of the things like when it comes to money, if you are constantly worrying about not having enough money, if that number one, it eats at you. Yes. It can make you ill, but that is a sign that you have a bad relationship with money. If you are not even able to purchase something without feeling guilty about it, right, at all, and or always come up, you have to spend money in order to have a good time, right? Or you have to basically make excuses. You just spend uncontrollably, and then you make excuses for why it's not your fault. Yeah. Right? These are all things that we need to think about when we think about a relationship with money. So anybody else want to chime in on that little part before I get to Saran? Because she's going to talk about some things you need to understand.
I love this topic. I have this topic so often, so it's good to get a different view from different people about the relationship with money. I have done so much research on the relationship with money because I would see so many horrible situations that resulted from people that created bad money habits. And I got kind of addicted to the why. And so I started to study behavioral traits and what actually causes people to make the decisions that they make financially. And when you look at both sides of the spectrum, it's very fascinating because I've seen people that grew up extremely poor and are so successful financially now that they still have a bad relationship with money. Not in a sense to where they overspend, but in a sense to where they hoard money. They don't spend it. They have it in several different accounts. They have it in several different investment strategies with never any goal of using it. All they know is they don't want to run out of it. And that is a bad habit with money as well. So although these people may have it all and have all of their investment strategies, and when they lose money in the market, they don't care. They have only the necessities of things that they need because they don't overspend, because they're afraid of being poor again.
Yeah.
I've also seen the other side of the spectrum where someone has grown up with everything, had everything given to them, and do not value the dollar at all. When I was still doing in-person counselings, I literally had someone that tore his money up. And me sitting here who has, every passion for the dollar is looking at him like, just give it to me, don't tear it up. He was literally in there ripping up his dollars because he doesn't care about money, because it's ruined his life. He didn't have a relationship with his parents because his parents were extremely wealthy. And so they spent, money instead of spending time. He's ended up in and out of jail and in and out of rehab. And it all goes back to having too much money. So there's that healthy balance that you have to figure out, and a lot of times if you go too far on one side of the spectrum, you can't figure it out on your own. So again, we get back to what we say every week: find a professional, speak with the professional, because you never know. Some of the habits that you may have towards your spending may be coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's all of that.
But I'll add to that. I love that you added the hoarding, because I've run into clients like that too. I'm like, why do you have $250,000 sitting in the savings account? I was just holding it. Why? What do you want? And they refuse to move it, to invest it, or do anything to make it grow in secure ways. But the other thing is, when you start talking about your relationship with money, our relationship with money is also spiritual. And so from the perspective of whatever your beliefs are, and I'm not one to tell you what you should believe, but there is a spiritual component to a lot of different things. And so the energy, the money we receive really is just an exchange for the energy that we put out through work or business or however it is we generate it, right? And how we connect to that, it will be negative. It can have some negative or positive, depending on how you define it, because nothing really is positive or negative until you give it meaning, right? And so when we start talking about our relationship with money, we have the perspective of good and bad, but the reality is what meaning do you as the person give your relationship with money? That's what matters the most. Not what I say or what we say, but what you think that relationship with the money means. Because if you think, like in your example, Shalonda, the person who was ripping up money and doing all that, if he thinks that he was doing that to be bad, then his relationship is bad. And that's where we really can expound ourselves and really think about it. And one of the things that I know personally I've experienced in my own financial journey and my own healing journey is really understanding who I was as a child and what my relationship with money or having money, or what having money or not having money meant. And what does that mean translate to my adult life, and how do I handle it either the same or differently, or what can I tweak so that it can be different for me and for those around me? And so it's a process, right? And that's why when we started talking about don't be a slave to it, because you could be a slave to it to hurry up and burn the money, if you will, or you could be a slave to it to hurry up and hoard the money, or you could be in the middle, like, I just like playing with it. I just think it's a game, and some people who are like, and I don't want to use the word extreme, some people who are really in tune with the universe and whatever their spiritual path, they know how to create money in their lives almost seamlessly. And it's not even a thing. It's just a part of the existence. And so figuring out where you are in all those various places really will help you with your relationship with money and getting out of kind of the slave to the money that we talk about in this topic for today.
Saran, that, you touch on a lot of things that I truly agree with. I was one of the people that grew up without most everything, some people could say that, well, we didn't really have a lot of money, but I never knew we didn't have it. Well, that's not true for me. I knew we didn't have it. I knew we didn't have it because there were days that we couldn't eat or something like that. Like we had to go without. But my mom was doing the best that she could to raise us, right? And I believe that has impacted me in certain ways with money.
Mhm.
Understanding now how money works is helping me, transparency moment, is helping me to handle and deal with money differently than if I had not ever gotten into this space, And so when you're talking to me, there's no reason to be ashamed or embarrassed about where you're coming from, because I've been through it. I've been there, and I know how to help you. And for the people who've always had, I can still help you because intellectually I've learned how to handle money, how to make sure that money works for us. Because the truth of the matter is, there are certain things that we must do with money if we don't want to be a slave to money. I've heard some people talk about the fact like, oh, you know what? I don't care about money because I've had it and I've lost it and I know how to go get it again. And that may be true. But what happens when you stepped out going to get it again? You got hit by a bus. Then what happens then? Right? So we cannot have that narrow view when we're talking about money. We really can't. We have.
Carmen, there's a comment in the chat. Read that comment, what she says. Tamara.
She said, I was in a toxic relationship for 15 years. Hubby controlled all the money. After I got out 7 years ago, I vowed to always be in control. And, thank you for being so transparent with us here tonight. But the truth of the matter, that's another thing. Women, and that's who we tell you, we want to help women. We help the entire community, but we really do want to help women, because the truth of the matter is we are typically at victim when it comes to dealing with money. And we have to be able to control, Tamara, we have to be able to control our money. And now the only thing that needs to be tweaked, if you haven't already done this, is make sure that you sit down with a financial professional to make sure that now you are truly in control of that money. You may be in control of that money from hubby because hubby's not there anymore. You're now in control. But now the banks are controlling you. The media is controlling you. The government is controlling you. And we have strategies for how to limit. We're never going to get them out altogether, but we have strategies for how to limit how much they influence what we do with our dollars.
So you know how we were just talking about your relationship with money growing up, your culture with money depicts how you handle money now. Tamara is a perfect example of that. She just gave her, put out here her history with money, how 15 years ago, her husband, or how for 15 years, her ex-husband controlled all her money. But she took control over it. Tamara is now a finance coach.
Yeah,
that's right.
So, and
she's been there. She's done it.
Helps other women,
yes,
in that space that are in those toxic relationships. She actually goes a step further and reaches out to, battered women and women that are in that situation. So she took her situation, not to say that she was battered, just saying those are the type of women that, she does often to speak to. She took that situation, owned it, fixed it, and now empowers it and helps others.
Wow. Can I say something? I saw you don't believe everything you see on the internet, but I saw a post today. There was this lady who she presented herself battered, beat up, and everything. Her husband beat her silly because she went out and got a job. Now, this is in another country. She went out and got a job, and he beat her silly. So, I think about, I was married for almost 20 years, and money in our household was important because, we had bills to pay. But there was nothing, no anger or anything about maybe not having it at some point, because in my childhood was different from when my married life, when I got married, it was not, I won't say very different, but different, you know. And so my relationship with money stemmed from when I was growing up, how I was a shopaholic. I'm not afraid to admit it. I I I can't. Sometimes I couldn't stop. When COVID hit, I just went crazy. I had to, because I didn't want to be without anything, and so that relationship with money, I kind of went overboard, and I had to think, okay, now I got to bring myself back and think about all the tools that I'm learning about right now to make sure that that money is working for me. If I had known what I know today
Right.
2 years ago, and even I think 3 years ago, I was introduced, 3 or 4 years ago, I was introduced to part of what we do. And I
Mhm.
didn't believe it, because the guy kept telling me, well, why are you putting so much money in a 401k? I'm like, well, because I'm supposed to.
So I'm gonna bring us back in
Yeah,
because we would talk and go
I
on
know.
for,
We talk a lot.
yeah, we would talk and go on, and this right here can go on for the next hour. But I want to come back a little bit, and I want to talk to Saran a little bit. Let's try to help us to identify some of the spending triggers. Let's talk a little bit about that, Saran.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. I was trying to okay, so some of the spending triggers, and I love that you shared what you shared, Aaliyah, because it really rolls right into the spending triggers when you start thinking about it. When we talk about our relationship with money, you use very one that we can all relate to globally right now, right? The COVID pandemic, right? We got cut off from everything, and we were all home. And then for a lot of people, I know in Maryland, one of the things that happened when we first got sent home the first 2 weeks, everybody went to the mall. Like, it's like, oh, don't go to work, but they were at the mall. The governor literally had to go and shut the malls down because people were like, let's go to the mall. It's the perfect time to go shopping. And so some of the triggers could be, just like eating. When you have an eating disorder, and when we are working on losing weight and different things, everything's tied together, and that's why they kind of go together. When you think about it, people want to spend money when they're happy. They want to spend money when they're sad. They want to spend money when they're stressed. They spend money to make them feel good when something is not going right. Just that one item will, changes your countenance and releases endorphins for that moment where you feel good. And then what happens is, in some cases, it's too much, and you end up in the cycle of debt.
Yep.
Right? Because you're constantly, you get the bills are stressing you out. Well, let me go to the mall. And, there's this TikTok, and I wish I could find it again. And the girl says in the TikTok, she's like, it's a picture of her and like TJ Maxx pumping up pillows and seeing, do I like this? And putting it in her cart. And she's got a cart full of stuff. And the caption says, but I ain't paid no bills yet, but I'm about to get my stuff. And that's really what happens, because sometimes we don't have the same joy or the endorphins or the physical happiness attached to paying bills or getting things done in our lives that we do when we go shopping, right?
You're right.
When we go shopping. And so, but it could go into different places. Some people overspend. Some people spend a lot of money. Their trigger is food. Even when we go back to our relationship, some people cannot go with an empty refrigerator because it's a trigger. It was something maybe from their childhood. If the refrigerator is empty, it seems like we don't have, when it could be just that you haven't gone shopping, right? But it's a trigger. It's different things that you have to really, decide for you what that trigger is, depending on what it is. For me, I'll talk about me personally. I get excited when I see new stuff, right? I like shiny objects, just like everybody else. And I love new gadgets. And so, because I know that about me, I have to give myself, all right, you need to wait 2 weeks before you go and do that, right? You need to wait for this. Like, I really wanted the new laptop. And guess what? My old laptop started crashing on a regular basis. So it's like, well, now you got to get one.
I think you manifested it. I think you manifested it.
I mean,
like
it's
broke the old one.
as soon as the new one came and I'm setting it up, the old one want to start working. I'm like, really? This is what we're doing today? But that's the thing. I didn't want to buy a laptop because I knew it didn't make sense for me to spend those kind of dollars right now for a computer when I needed to do other things. But I need the computer to do other things. So I have to buy the computer. But the thing is to really just think about it. Are you? And I recently was talking to a client and we were doing a budget for her. And she's like, I don't have any money. And I was like, well, how much money do you make? And she told me, and I was like, okay, are you sure? And then when we put on the budget, she made like $20,000 more than she told me because she had never calculated it on paper.
Wow.
And so when you start thinking about triggers, some people get triggered when it's like they have to see their numbers on paper. But sometimes seeing your numbers on paper will change things and can be a reality check. Or either way, again, like I said earlier, you give what the information is meaning. Whatever information or data we receive, it can be good or bad depending on what you decide it is when you process it. And so when you see your numbers on paper, it can be like, wait, I make more money than I thought. That's good. And then when we did the budget, it was just like, wait, I should have this much money. So what are you spending your money on? And so then she was able to go back and say, she called me the next week and said, well, I looked and I realized I had more automatic things coming out than we talked about. I canceled them because I didn't realize I still had them. I was spending money, eating out and doing different things. And again, that's not a big deal. Eating out is not a big deal. But if you're eating out 3 meals a day, it's expensive. If you have goals other than eating out, then it could be expensive, and personally for me, I checked myself a couple of weeks ago because I found myself in the drive-thru. Number one, I needed to be there for health reasons. But number two, I realized I had went there like maybe 2 or 3 days in a row and I added up. I'm like, you just spent $150 eating BS. I could have went to a really nice steak restaurant for $150.
Right.
So I had to put it in perspective. I could put $150 towards my next travel adventure, which is what I really want to do. And so when I look at things like that, I look at it based on my goals. And that's why with your triggers, and people don't think, they think that, you just, us financial professionals, we want to take away all the fun. No, I want to refocus you to what you really want. Because if you say you want to travel the world, but you spend all your money eating out here, then you don't want to travel the world because if you cut back on half of the meals out, you could pay for 4 trips a year,
Right.
Doing it differently. The other thing is we get triggered when someone talks about our debt. And this is kind of even where we were on this live. That's where, my live on Mondays, Dirty Little Money Secrets came out because we started talking about student loans. We don't want to talk about the debt that we carry. We don't want to talk about our credit card debt. We just want to keep swiping, right? Because if nobody knows about it, if nobody knows about it, then it doesn't exist. And so we get triggered when people know we owe money for whatever reason. So it's a lot of different, flavors to it. But of course, ladies, let me know what you're thinking or what you've experienced with your clients or with yourself, because this is a growth process for us all, because I know I learned from other financial professionals who are willing to not only tell me their expertise, but tell me their experience with it. Because just telling me what is in a book is, cool, because I can go get the book. But the experience with it is thinking about it like, wait, I didn't really need to do that. Okay, well, let me do something different. Why?
But on that, Saran, when you're talking about triggers, it's important for people to really understand that they are really triggers that cause them to do some certain things. Just stress, and you just want to just have a little bit of a relief. So I'm just gonna go to wherever and purchase myself a bag, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go do that. The other thing with people not wanting to talk about it is one of the reasons that people don't reach out to professionals, because they don't want to be judged, or they don't want people to really know. I don't want him to think that I'm stupid and I could not handle my financial thing. I should be able to do this. Why would I have to go to you? The truth is you should not be able to do it, because it's not something that just comes naturally. Right. It's not something that people are teaching you. And consequently, we have a bunch of people doing things that they were never, ever set up to do. But in Saran's last thing, when she was speaking, she talked about that client when they started putting it on paper.
Right.
And that's super important, putting it on paper, because you cannot fix what you don't measure.
Right.
You cannot fix what you don't measure. And right now, I want to bring in our queen, Shalonda, here to talk a little bit more about.
Let me add one more thing before you change the subject.
Yeah.
The one thing too is stress is the trigger, right? Sometimes.
Right.
And so when you talk about someone who's like, oh, I want to treat myself, and most people, that's what they do. They get stressed and like, oh, I need to treat myself because I'm stressed. But if you plan your finances right, then you can set up a plan. For example, personally, I'm setting up a plan that in the next couple of years, I want to set it up to where every quarter I'm able to go somewhere on a trip for a week for a vacation. So I don't have to wait. I don't have to treat myself in between, because I know I'm going to grind it out for 12 or 13 weeks of that quarter. And then that next week, I'm going to get a break. And it's going to be something I really want to do. When you start to build in your stress relief before it even happens, then it's calculated and you don't get triggered with the pop-ups to move your money in other direction. But that's all
I love that.
That was good.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
That was very good. And here's the thing, prior to me even getting into financial services, these were not thoughts that went through my mind. Didn't think these things, right? And and here's the other thing. If you're not exposed to this, then you don't know. And you also can't fix what you don't know. Right? So this is why it's important to us. But I know that we have an hour that we're talking here. Each of these things that we're talking about can be spent an hour or more on them. But I do want to bring in Shalonda to have her talk a little bit about making that budget and sticking to it. But I love the idea of building in certain things, because now you have something to look forward to. You just don't just do things willy-nilly any which way the wind blows. But tell us about creating a budget, making a budget, and sticking to it.
That's the difference. What Saran was explaining is something that I do with my clients. It's the difference between a budget and a spending plan. Mm-hmm. A budget tells you what you have, what expenses, what debts, and what income you have, and where your money is going. A spending plan has you in control of your money to where you tell your money where to go. So with the spending plan, you tell your money where to go because you're in control of your money. You're creating your spending plan, and that's the difference.
Right.
So with the spending plan, I learned a long time ago, I work a little different in the finance arena. I'm not your typical finance counselor. So most of the people that work in the offices with us, they are your typical, here's your income, here's your expenses, this is what you need to have to make it each month, go be great. And I found that you have a lot of repeat clients that after 6 months, they just can't do it anymore. And they're thinking that they need to come back because it's broken again. It's not broken again. The cycle is broken. Mm-hmm. So what you need to do is a customized spending plan. Mm-hmm. You need to go through all of your categories. The best way to do this is to start tracking, which is one of the first things that I do with the client.
Right.
I don't sit down and rely on you to tell me what you spend your money on. Mm-hmm. I get your bank statements. You bring me your bank statements. You bring me your receipts, because sometimes bank statements just say the company that you went to, and we get down and dirty, right? And I tell you where you spent your money. And then instead of telling you where you're not going to spend your money, you categorize what's important to you. Because I find that if, for instance, I have a client, she was single, no kids, fairly young, early 30s. in hype of her career, peak of her career, makes decent money, but just wanted some guidance with her money, right? She wasn't necessarily bad at it, but she has some future goals. So in her spending plan, as much as she's on the go with, she does a lot of activities, she's big in the community, so she does a lot of seminars, she's on the NAACP, so she has a lot of meetings, she's in and out of the in and out of the gym, she does, fitness, she works out, Pilates, things like that. Eating on the go is easier for her. But she doesn't like fast food, so she really cares about her health. There's a little cafe that she loves to go to. It's vegan, all the foods that she likes. So we incorporated that into her spending plan because it does her no good to go grocery shopping. It's just her. She goes grocery shopping and she tries to eat at home. She ends up wasting the food and not getting to it, and all the produce spoils. So in her situation, it is easier for her to grab what she likes on the go, but she has a set limit that she spends on her grab and goes. And then for the other things, she does go to the market and she does a meal prep. So because she lives a busy life, her spending plan incorporates all aspects of her life. So I really get down and dirty with my clients. We talk about the gym. We talk about how much time she spends away from home. We talk about her commute because sometimes she might have meetings on the go and she's literally grabbing a bite to eat in between meetings in the car. So we talk about all that because all of that, once you have that spending plan, you're telling your money where to go, you're not as stressed because a majority of the plan is figured out. You already know your schedule. You don't have to pencil in getting home to eat dinner because you already have it all planned out. So it's about not just planning out your spending, but being organized all the way around. Having everything organized, and I'm not saying you have to be, an Excel spreadsheet telling you where your next appointment is. It wouldn't hurt, but I'm finding that with a lot of my clients, getting a spending plan and sticking to the spending plan is a lot easier. Less clients bail on their spending plan because it works. It makes sense. So many clients fail at budgets because it doesn't make sense. I have an analogy. When you're on a diet and someone gives you a diet and they tell you this is all you can eat on this diet, how long are you going to be on that diet? You're going to quit. You're not going to be on it very long. But if someone says, here's a multitude of things that fit within the spectrum of the goal of how much weight you want to lose, you can pick 3 items from each of these areas, 3 different meals a day, and they have a big variety, you're not going to fail because you have a customized list of things that you can choose from. So when you give a client choices and they have buy-in because they see the results, they stick and stay. And then that's how I get those good testimonies because they did it. But I can honestly say to them, don't thank me, you did this, because they did do it. They customize a plan that works for them versus my job would be so much easier if I could just sit there at work and email budgets to people all day and tell them, here, this is what you did. Girls,
this is what you did.
This is what you did. But having buy-in from the client from the spending plan gives them more freedom. It gives them control because they're telling their money to go where to go instead of their money telling them where I'm going to go. If that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. So I think that's good because a lot of times when people hear the word budget, they cringe because they know it's something that is going to, tighten and cut and whatever. And we are here to help you understand that that's not what we are, we're here to do. We're not here to cut up and tighten and cut off things that you cannot do, especially when you have to go into retirement. Because if you have to do these now, what happens? We want you to be able to live the life that you want, right? But
I got something funny to say. I'm changing the name of my diet from diet plan to food spending plan. This is my food plan.
Whatever works.
I got me a
whatever
food,
works.
it's my food plan. I like that.
I definitely agree. But the some of the things that we need to do in order to stop being a slave to money, right? You've already heard starting to understand your relationship with money. You've already heard identifying some of the triggers, the things that can cause you to overspend and or hoard. So identifying those triggers, understanding how to budget wisely by making a spending plan instead of looking at it as something negative. As Saran told you, something is negative or positive based on what meaning you've given to it. So a couple of things that I would like to throw in there as we talk about getting out from under this slave, from under being a slave to money, is understanding that we need to give every dollar a job. Matter of fact, we need to give every dollar more than one job. If we can give every dollar 2 to 3 jobs, it's going to help, because inflation and with the government printing a whole bunch of money, our savings and our money is being devalued every single day. Our purchasing power is being reduced every single day. So when we give our money more than one job, we help, we basically let the money work for us, right? What am I talking about giving your money more than one job? If you have money that you have in a savings account, this is an example, you have in a savings account that you said, this $100,000 is for my grandchildren when I die. So you leave it in the savings account and it's sitting there waiting, right? But in the meantime, it's not earning much of anything. It's being lazy. It's just it's just cocked up, just sitting there doing nothing. A lazy money. Now, yes, this money is to be able to give to our grandchildren, but we can put it somewhere where it can work for us and we can maybe live off of some of those spoils and still give money to our grandchildren. So we have to give our money more than one job. And if you want to know exactly what are some other things or how you can do that, just hook up with the Millionaire Ladies Mob. We can be found at millionaireladiesmob@gmail.com. If you want to email us, or you can just go to millionaireladiesmob.com and connect with us. Right. Another thing is paying yourself first. Paying yourself first, right? You got to put yourself first before any bill is paid. Before anything else happens, we have to get into that mode, because most of the times the way things go, our money comes in, we pay bills, and then whatever else is left over, we either save or we either put to something. Sometimes I hear people say, I don't have enough money for life insurance after my bills are paid. Well, life insurance, it's the other way around. Life insurance should be first, and then what's left over you pay with your bills. So pay yourself first. Avoid just basically, flaunting your money, flaunting. And, a lot of times this happens with many people who grew up and didn't have nothing. And now they grow up, they're like, I'm going to have everything. There's no way that whatever. And good or bad, I don't know, but that hasn't been the thing for me. I still need help, though. I still need psychological help when it comes to some of the things that I've gone through. It's a process. I'm still working on it. But just avoid, flaunting. You don't have to have a BMW to keep up with the Joneses, right? You do need a vehicle, maybe, depending on where you live, to get back and forth. It does not need to be a BMW.
That's actually a money disorder. Flaunting your money, seriously, it's a real thing. It's a money disorder. It's called money worshiping.
I
It's when
believe
you
you.
it's when you
But here's
worship
the
the
thing.
money.
People don't even understand that, right?
Yeah.
They're just doing what comes natural to them. And so these conversations have people get an opportunity to stop and think, wow, I need to look at that, right? But another thing that have a backup plan. We just saw what happened with the world 3 years, 2 years, two
Oh,
and a half, 3 years ago. The world went upside down, right? And most everyone that was alive, I venture to say everyone that was alive has not ever seen that happen before. Because the time before when we had something on that scale, those people were babies. They might still be alive, but they cannot remember that. But we need to have a backup plan for health crisis, for record unemployment, for whatever it is, terroristic, whatever is going on, whether it's domestic or whether it's international, but we need to have a backup plan for when those things happen, right? That last, I might probably have like two more points, but making sure that we use money to solve problems, right? To solve problems, to help, whether it's instead of just gambling it, spending it, investing it, or whatever. Find a problem to solve with that
I
money.
like that. I like
You
that.
know, find a problem to solve. We got lots of things going on that we can use our money. Lots of problems that we can use our money to help solve. So basically, we already talk a lot about understanding the investment world. Making sure that you don't keep all your eggs in one basket. And then when we make money, we want to invest our profits. We want to grow our profits and things like that, right? Who I don't know if somebody said this today, but most of us probably need less money than we think.
Yeah.
Most of us probably need less money than we think we need.
Speak for yourself.
Listen, if last year you were making 40,000, you were getting by on 40,000, but this year after the pandemic, whatever, you only had 35,000. You know what? You're going to get by on 35,000. You're going to find a way. So most of us can get by on less of that.
And Carmen, the more money you make, the more money you spend. That is sometimes
that is true. That
But
is
that doesn't have to
absolutely
be true.
Right. It doesn't have to be, but
It does
is
not have to
sometimes
be.
very true.
Right. All right, but so those are some of the things that I wanted to share. I know you wanted me to talk a little bit about minimizing expenses or whatever, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that for people to kind of understand some of the rules, some of the things that they can do to come out from under this being a slave to money, right? Saran, I'm coming to you, girl. I want you to talk a little bit about setting financial goals and working toward them. Talk a little bit about that. We are at 9:19. We got a good 15 minutes, 10, 11 minutes to go something. But talk a little bit about that.
So setting financial goals is important because that will go back to what Shalonda talked about with the budget versus the spending plan, right? Because if you take a look at how much money you make annually, and then you look at maybe what you spent last year, you can decide, is this how I want to spend my money? Do I want to redirect it to set new goals? What I find is when I talk to people, they don't always have a goal that they've kind of defined. It's like in their head, just like anything else. And it's not until you write it down that you can really focus. And so for a lot of people, is what is the goal that you want to accomplish? Do you want to get out of debt? Do you want to pay for beautiful, lavish travel? Do you want to learn, do more investing? Do you want to buy more properties? Do you want to figure out ways to build a business? Do you want to be able to pay for college for, your kids and your grandkids, or maybe your nieces and nephews? What is it that you want to do? Do you want to be able to buy the freshest, newest Barbie that comes out because you collect Barbies and they're expensive, right? what is it that you want to do with your money is the question, because then that'll help direct how you plan your money and put it aside. Now, one of the best tips that I've read about, I want to say read about, but I listened to the book, but it is a book, in The Millionaire Mindset by T. Harv Eker, he talked about dividing up your money the way you want it to go. And also the Budgetnista talks about it too. So if you know you want to have a dream account, then divide however your income comes in, divide it up. If it's and we'll just use simple numbers. If you get $100 and you know you have a dream, then put $10 towards that dream, and then put, 40 towards living, and then put 20 towards, but have it set up to where it's automatically going into accounts that are dedicated for what you want it to be for. And that'll help to some extent, right? Now, for some people, if you're married and you have joint accounts and you have a little bit more complication in how your funds are coming in, you can do it a little bit differently. I mean, we see married couples who have their spending money go to a separate account, and then the bill money or the family money go to one account. So you really want to think about how you want to do it. So think about what your goals are, and then really you can set up automatic direct deposits to each goal, so you don't even have to think about it anymore.
That goes back to that customized spending plan.
Exactly. Right. And that's why I mentioned it.
Because something that I wanted to say while you were talking about goals. A good tip that I use when, because you were talking about how sometimes clients, and this happens all the time, they have a hard time with knowing what is my goal. Like, I don't know. That's why I'm
living.
Here,
I'm just existing.
I'm just here. I don't know.
I'm just trying to go to work tomorrow and then come home and have fun.
But something that I do, a tool that I use to help them with goal setting, is to create your goals based around the SMART acronym. You want your goal to be specific. You want it to be measurable. You want it to be something that's achievable. So you don't want to just create a goal because you're saying, I'm sitting here in front of Shay and she says I need a goal. It needs to be something that you personally can achieve based off of how much money you have coming in. You can't say I want to save $1 million if you don't make $1 million, right? You want it to be realistic, right? You want it to make sense. And you want your goal to be timely, right? You want to be able to measure it and be sure that you can get your checks and balances in place. So if you say, Saran, I have a trip that I have coming up and the trip is in December, then you need to make sure that by November you have everything that you need financially to make that happen.
Right.
So the SMART acronym, using that to goal set, it helps.
And you can use that for all of our goals, right? But the idea, the big thing is, most people don't have a clue. Most people are really just existing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sitting down and thinking about it and putting together a vision. And so even before we get to the SMART, it's like, what's your vision? What's your dream? What's your big dream? And then let's put some, okay, great. This is what you want. Okay, now let's make it a SMART. Let's take it from vision and dream to a goal and break it down into the SMART, because for a lot of people, and this isn't probably not us, because we got a lot of different, we could talk about new stuff we want to do for hours, right? But really, for a lot of people, it's finding the space and coming out, because for a lot of people, for people that I'm talking to, they're coming out of a dark place,
right? Or they're coming out of COVID and the pandemic.
And the dark place is COVID.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, wait, there's people outside.
So they're like, now I'm making money again. What can I do with it?
Yeah. How do I move?
Right.
Okay, now that I can get back to get my sea legs back, if you will, and I can get things back in order. Now, what do I want to do? How do I want to move? What goals do I want to set? Do I want to start doing? And I'm using small numbers because they're easy to. Do I want to start doing $5 over here for this and $10 over here for this in this account to get towards my goal of having $1,000 to do whatever, right? Because most of us aren't going to come out the gate and one day make $250,000 doing one deal, or make $1 million doing one deal. But we will make a couple of $5,000, $10,000, $1,000 to build up to those bigger numbers. But it's having a plan to keep having it grow and having it grow. So that's really the big thing. And the best way to really help you with the goals is to sit down with a financial professional.
Yeah.
You heard Shay. She has a lot of different amazing ways to do it. Carmen has ways. Aaliyah has ways. I have different ways. The thing is that sometimes you need to talk to someone outside of yourself. And believe it or not, I talk to a financial professional too, because guess what? I just need somebody to talk to me about
And
all these amazing ideas I have, because I just keep coming up with stuff, right?
so I also wanted to throw this in, as we are, especially when you talked about that client who's like, well, I don't know what I want to do, but we can help them to really, formulate that conversation of what they really need to do. Like, for instance, many of our clients, or most of our clients, when you ask them, and I'm going to use easy numbers, that way it's easy to whatever, they'll say, I make $100,000 a year, and then you ask them what year they want to retire or whatever. Number one, they tell you what time they want to retire, and then they typically tell you that they want maybe $80,000 a year in retirement, something less, right? And here's the thing that we have to make sure that our clients are thinking about. Yes, today 80,000 in retirement may work for you, because you may have gotten rid of your mortgage, you may have gotten rid of certain bills, you've now in a lower tax bracket. But what we don't think about, the longer that we live, we have some risks that come along with living longer, and those risks multiply the normal risk. It's like a multiplier. So the longer we live, for instance, if let's say groceries today is $100, but then in 20 years, that same grocery may be $150. So is that $80,000 going to be enough? In 30 years or 40 years, that may now be $250. Is that enough? And we still didn't think about the things like long-term care that most of us are going to require when we are older. So these are also some things when we are planning and when we are setting our goals that we have to take into consideration as well. So as we are about to go out, I'm going to do a little bit different tonight. As you go out, I'm going to give you one thing that I want you to talk about and then close out for you. So for Shalonda, I would like you to talk about creating a positive relationship with money. That's what I want you to leave the people with, and also tell them about who you are. Just a little bit, outro, for lack of a better word, but tell them about creating a positive relationship with money. There you go.
She says just a little bit, and then she picks Shalonda first, and I talk more than anyone. Like, what is up with this lady?
Calm it down. Bring it in.
Creating a positive relationship with money starts with knowing where your relationship with money actually exists. So you cannot create a positive relationship with money if you don't know where you are with money. There are a lot of hidden factors. There are a lot of triggers. There are a lot of different components that play a part with money. I also wanted to say, if you're one of those people, we know, from my line of work, I know that there are so many people out there that are doing everything that they're supposed to do. They're doing everything right. They, only make so much money, and they are making what they have stretch. You can seek guidance too. Don't think just because, you don't have enough money at the end of the month, you have just barely enough to keep it going. That doesn't mean that there's not an option or a plan out there for you to goal set. Just know that a healthy relationship with money doesn't necessarily mean you have to have tons of money left over. It just means that maybe there's another opportunity for you there. Maybe you have a hidden hobby. Maybe you have, maybe you're good at public speaking. We're all good at also helping people to figure out their talents. I have sat down with clients, and they've said, oh my gosh, you should be a life coach. You should be a therapist, because they've started a business just from coming to a financial planning seminar with me. So it may be something where you have to tap in, and, if the money's not coming in, go get it, and we can
tell them where to find you.
we can actually show you how to go get that money as well. So just wanted to say, just because all the money is not there doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing bad with money. But I am Shalonda Kaiser Mitchell. I am a finance coach. Finance Coach Shay is where you can find me on TikTok. You can also find me on all my social media platforms as Shalonda Kaiser Mitchell.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Shalonda. I wanted to, let's see, I'm going to go back to Aaliyah. I'm not going to do it so hard, Aaliyah, because I think you actually touched on this a little bit, but now you can just bring it back in and then tell the people where they can find you as well. Understand, I want you to talk to our audience a little bit about understanding where your relationship with money comes from.
Okay. Well, your relationship with money is it's going to come from your childhood. How you were treated, how your family took care of money, how they handled money. So think about what happened in your childhood because you're bringing that to adulthood. And then maybe they're good habits, maybe they're bad habits. I don't know. So you have to figure out what triggers. And Saran did it really well about shopaholic. I'm triggered. I don't know. I got to figure it out. But you can find me on Facebook at Aaliyah Sherrod. I'm on Instagram at Cover Your Family and also the Ladies Mob. So that's me, Aaliyah Sherrod.
Saran, let's have some fun. Tell the people, what do they need to do to be able to have fun with their money? Talk to them about giving themselves permission to have fun with their money, and then tell them about you a little bit. Outro yourself. You're muted.
Give yourself permission to have fun with your money. You're here, you're doing everything you need to do, and make a plan for it so it's not so burdensome. I think that has been the biggest and the most amazing change that I've seen for a lot of people. You want to go to homecoming? Put it in your spend plan or your budget or whatever you want to call it or however you use it. Make sure that that's in there. You want to make sure you go to the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving. Make sure that that's built in there. Nobody wants to plan out their money and there be nothing in it that's absolutely freaking awesome and lots of fun, right? And so that really is a thing. You want to go on group movie dates with all your friends from different circles, do it, but just make sure you have it in your spend plan so you're not taking from something that was considered a bill or something else, but make sure it's there to be there for you. So that to me is the most amazing thing you can do, is just plan for the fun instead of taking it all out, right? I'm Saran Baker. You can find me at saran10k.com. I'm on Facebook as Covered by Saran and TikTok as Dirty Little Money Secrets. I also go live every Monday at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube where I talk about dirty little money secrets. I also have a vision and manifestation journal you can get and download for free at saranbaker.co.
Nice. Very, very nice. Listen, when you're talking about having money for fun, I think it was 2 weeks ago or so, I mentioned this on this very show where I read something where the man said he wants to have so much fun with his money and he wants to spend it all out because when he dies, the last check he writes must bounce. That's what he wants to happen. And I thought that was funny, but you got to listen, right? That means that he did have that plan for his money, because he did plan for money to go toward leaving legacy. That's there. That's still there. But the money that he planned to have fun with, he wanted to spend every dime of it. So it wasn't going to have to go in because that was his. So he wanted the last check to bounce. I'm Carmen Bernard. I want to say, just stop making money your enemy, right? Stop making money your enemy. And if you go back, rewind, you listen to some of those things that I talked about of what you can do, you'll find that you have a better relationship with money if you just put some of those things that I talked about in the middle of the show. So you have to go back if you're now here hit replay, type replay when you do it. But, and also, listen to all of my colleagues on here that shared so many wonderful things. Again, I'm Carmen Bernard. You can reach me at carmen10k.com. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. Carmen, Big Facts with Carmen, Big Facts with Carmen on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. Please follow, like, share, and we love you. Thank you for joining us. We had a wonderful talk tonight. We're going to be back here, as Saran would say, same bad time, same bad channel, next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Peace.